Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, July 25th, 2023. So, I just got back from a week up at Beach Mountain Bike Park in North Carolina. I highly recommend it if you are a mountain biker. It's a fantastic place. Spent 2 days up there with some really good friends. I'll actually, before we get going here in today's philosophy video, let a little bit of film roll from our trip. So yeah, it was a fantastic time up there on the mountain. I thoroughly enjoyed it and hope that you also have had a fantastic week as well. Well, today I spent the entire day pressure washing this neighbor of mine's driveway. She needed some work done. I was happy to help her out, and so I used my pressure washer. You can see it here behind me, and pressure washed her driveway. And while I was doing this work, of course, I had lots of time to think. And it occurred to me that pressure washing is an interesting locus for thinking about philosophy. And in some ways, today's video is inspired by a good friend of mine named Dustin Cook. He actually owns a pressure washing company down in Columbia, South Carolina. And he is perhaps one of the most well-read and interesting thinkers I've ever met, and yet spends his life pressure washing and running his company, but then reading philosophy. And so today, inspired by Dustin, I want to think about 3 things that we can learn about philosophy, about life, just from taking seriously the act of pressure washing a neighbor's driveway. First thing actually comes from Seneca. Seneca's idea is that we should live with no regret. He's a Stoic, and so for him, the real important part of existence is controlling our mind, controlling our reason, and living in accordance to what we can actually make sense of and what we can understand. So for Seneca, when he says that we should live with no regrets, it's actually something that I continue to think about today as I pressure wash the driveway. I was effectively using a giant magic eraser and just washing away all of these things, right? The stains, the dirt, the grime from the driveway. So what is it in our lives that becomes those stains that we then end up regretting, that we wish we could somehow pressure wash away? Well, if we live according to Seneca's advice, then we will do better to not regret what we do and therefore live on purpose so that those regrets never show up. The second philosophical idea I had while doing the pressure washing was that it's important to understand that we live in light of what is often fleeting, right? We are not permanent in our existence. We live in light of finitude. And so the beauty of the temporary is actually something that I found really compelling. So, for example, while I was pressure washing, I actually drew a big phi symbol in the driveway, and then 10 minutes later, washed it away, and it was gone. This reminded me of a former mentor of mine in grad school, now a friend, David Wood, who does a lot of earth art. And David will often do these things where he'll place like CDs in a desert and put them in a spiral and then get the picture of it just as the sun gleams off of it and reflects perfectly. But then 5 seconds later, 10 minutes later, the sun has moved, the reflection shifts, the sand covers over, and the art itself actually disappears. For David, part of the point is to capture beauty in the fleeting. And this is something also I think that pressure washing reminds us of. The final idea is one that moves us from aesthetics, or the study of beauty, to epistemology, or the study of knowing and how we know. And this is an idea that comes from 2 friends of mine, Rob Talisse and Scott Aikin, and they talk about the importance of cognitive hygiene, good cognitive health. And in order to do this, right, we cultivate robust commitments to argumentation. We think well, we think in light of good evidence, we believe in light of good reasons. And this sort of work, they suggest, helps keep us cleaned out, right? It helps us not get, stuck in the rut, in the mire, in the gunk. And this is something also that while pressure washing, I kept thinking, wow, how much cleaner everything looked after hitting it with that intense pressure from the water the same is true by being around philosophers, reading important books, listening to criticism, thinking really deeply about what other people just ignore. This sort of work, just like pressure washing, can clean out the assumptions that we pay no attention to and help us become better thinkers as we also engage in this cognitive hygiene. So those three ideas: no regrets, the beauty of the fleeting, and the importance of cognitive hygiene. Three ideas that are philosophically important that came to me while pressure washing my neighbor's driveway. So today's video, again, thanks to Dustin Cook for continuing to push me forward in really important ways. And I hope all of you have an amazing day, whether your driveway is clean or not. I'll see you next time, unless a piano falls on our heads.